Welcome to the Daily HiFi podcast. It is 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on a Monday. My name is Chana. With me as always, hey, we got the gang
We got
back
everybody.
together.
What?
Yeah, we got Joe, Aaron, and Mike. What's up, fellas?
Yeah.
And it's my birthday.
Is it?
Nah.
No, just
Oh.
kidding.
I was wondering why you're dressed
No.
up though. Like why you got what's going on over there?
No, I asked. The reason why I got this shirt is I just asked Jessica. I said, "Hey, I'm doing more home theater tours. Can you buy me like just some more button-up shirts because it makes it easy to clip on the microphone versus the t-shirt?"
I love it.
So
Hey,
she's like, "Yeah, I'll hook you up."
babe, can
So,
you buy me some shirts? I don't know what.
dude, I ain't got time to go shopping. Is what it is. It's like
That shirt's probably like $200 right there, Chana.
three
Three bills.
$3. $3 actual dollars. 1, 2, 3. You had to get
He got the youth man deal.
exactly.
Honestly, she probably went to like Ross or one of those little shops and got the clearance rack. So.
There ain't nothing wrong with Ross.
Dude,
I'll tell you right
not at
now.
all.
They don't sell
You know what I
Rolex
mean?
there though.
It's how you rock it. You know what I mean?
That looks
Michael's the man,
fine.
so he can wear anything.
This thing's like rayon, man. It's super soft.
No,
See what I'm
look
saying?
out, yeah.
Yeah. What's
I have
going
to
on
order
here?
all my shirts. So if it doesn't get here, it doesn't get here.
So what, you have to special order them or what?
Yeah,
No,
Jack?
there's no place to buy clothes here in town. All the clothing stores like closed down. So
What?
yeah,
clothing stores.
You can't
Yeah.
buy. Oh, I see. You
There
got
was
to
like
order
a-
all the clothes.
there was a Ralph Lauren polo outlet. There was a Van Heusen outlet. Those things closed down. Like if you're like, that was the best. The Van Heusen was awesome. Like, oh, I need to get some shirts because I was like, managing the whatever hotel thing. So I had to get some shirts. So just roll in there. But now you can't. Now you just have to order everything. So it's kind of lame. But whatever.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It was. We were just talking about how like we have a good group because we all have different spending habits. Like
You
very, very different. Like you
You
should
think?
see some of our conversation behind the scenes. Not talking about audio whatsoever. It's usually Michael and Chana, kind of like Chana starts off giving Michael like some financial advice, like
Yep.
unwarranted. Like
Those are the best.
Michael doesn't ask.
Those
Hey,
are the
like,
best.
hey, Michael, why don't you get this? Why don't you
get
dump
this,
that car and get this really
this-
expensive one?
Get this
An Audi.
Tesla.
Yeah. Get this,
You can,
No,
so
no,
you can
get
write
the
it off.
Tesla,
It's
bro.
free. It's free,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah,
Technically,
practically
it'll
free.
be a wash. It'll be a wash. It'll be a wash. You'll spend the same amount of money either way.
as
But
long as you lease
my
it.
way, you'll have a new car.
It's just fun. It's just funny because like
Michael's
total-
like, I like buying debt free. I just pay cash for vehicles, several years old, still quality used vehicles. And Chana's like, "Oh man, lease that Joker for 4 years and drive a new one every 6 months."
Yeah, put on your business.
Yeah,
why
see,
not?
look at him.
Right,
Oh,
We're
I
going.
don't wanna
Everybody
get
just go ahead and
started.
get your popcorn.
70,000.
I don't want to.
car.
It's serious. It
Well,
gets real though. It
Mike-
gets kind of like I get scared a little bit.
Everybody's complaining about gas prices. I was actually thinking about you today, Mike. I was just like,
Were you?
okay, here's what Mike should do. Okay,
Here
I
it
got-
goes.
I
See,
got
that's
got a
how it goes. This
2-year
is what you should do.
I got a
I'm taking
2-year
All right.
plan.
notes this time.
All right,
buddy.
let's
Well,
go.
this is all recorded, so it's all been taking notes, right? A 2-year plan. So this year in the summertime, get yourself a bunch of solar panels for your home.
Okay.
That's gonna be
that.
do one of two things, right? It's gonna cut down your electric costs, and like my mom's had this done like 10 years ago, so she's been getting checks like $400 or $500 checks from Edison every month. So it'll be generating you some money,
Hey,
right?
Money
And
makes
then
I'm all about it.
the Tesla Model X, that classifies for Section 179, so you can take the entire price of the car
Mhm.
tax write-off in the first year, and then your driving's powered by the sun. You plug in at home.
So
Like-
how much, just
There
curious,
it is.
how much is the Tesla X?
It's like $100,000.
Okay, so I'm gonna spend $100,000 to save a $5,000 tax write-off. Dude,
See?
that's
No,
oh,
dude. No, it's not. It's gonna be way more. You probably won't even pay
See?
taxes that year. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I
Like,
don't
you take
even
it all
pay
off
taxes.
in the.
all right, so let's think.
All
this-
right.
hold on. Let's
So-
think. the logic.
So
Let's say, hang on. Let's say I pay I think we pay about $5,000.
This is much better than Oro 3D. by the
You're
way.
right. I'm enjoying this too. Believe me.
So let's say I pay $5,000 in taxes this year, which is
Uh-huh.
probably what we'll pay. So if I were to buy $100,000 car, I'll save that $5,000 tax, right? Or tax that I would have paid in. That sounds like a great deal to me, man.
Well, this would be for
$100,000
next year.
for
This will be for next year, obviously, right? It's your next year's filing. So
I'm-
whatever it's whatever
Start
money you
cashing
make
right now,
this
yeah.
year, and if you're making a substantially like more money this year, then maybe. But I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
with gas price, you said you're driving around all over 2 hours here, 5 hours there. I can't imagine, you know, your vehicle being the most fuel efficient thing. So I'm just trying to, you know,
so
like
again,
I even tell my mom, like, Mom, buy a Tesla. Buy a Tesla. You won't have to pay gas.
so let's
You
think about that again. So even if I'm spending, and I don't even think I'm spending this, let's say I'm spending $200 a month on gas because gas is expensive and I'm making 2 or 3 trips in a month, right? Okay. We're still talking $200 a month versus $100,000 vehicle.
It'll take you a while to pay it off, Michael. It'll take you a little while.
Like
But
30.
hey,
Oh
you'll be getting free fuel from the sun,
Oh,
right? It's
Yeah.
fuel efficient. It helps the environment, and then you get a little tax break.
I'm extremely grateful. I just still get free advice, technical advice, and financial advice from Shauna D.
It's free. It's free. It's free.
It's free. He didn't want it.
He's gonna start charging you soon.
Dude, hey, you know what they say about free advice? Like, I mean, you get what you pay for.
I get what you pay for, right? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, no, you know, it was funny because in Vegas, I actually found something that I don't mind spending money on.
What's that?
Chana looked at me like, "Why are you spending on that?"
Oh yeah,
he looked at me like I was crazy.
He's like, "Oh, these shoes are like $250. These are real comfortable. I'm gonna get these. I think I'm gonna get some for Angela too." I'm like, "What are you talking about? $250 for some sneakers? Damn."
Yeah.
I mean, I know some speakerheads. Sneakerheads. We are speakerheads.
Yeah.
I've known plenty of sneakerheads. You know, and like I used to go to like, you know, these shoe drops. Sometimes like the one dude will pay for, you could only get like 2, and then he's immediately just taking pictures of them right on the street and uploading them to eBay, you know, for like, you know, 10 times the price he just paid for. It was crazy. So
yeah,
I don't know. Anyway,
people flip stuff. I guess you could do that with AVRs now, right?
Oh
like
yeah.
You happen to get, I got an RZ50.
Oh, got a hunk,
can you do that?
I mean, yeah.
They should start doing stuff like that, huh? Make it a little fun. Limited run
AVRs. Well, you know, funny thing about this car thing, like we're going to be getting a new car probably in the next couple of weeks. And like I was like, "Oh man, I got to go down to LA to pick up this new car." So I'm like, "Joe, let's hang out. I don't want to make a video. Let's just hang out and go watch shopping." Cuz like I don't want to talk about audio.
We're going to do that.
Yeah,
we'll do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we can make a video too, but I think people would get pretty upset. They're like, "What does this have to do with anything audio related?"
Yeah. Hey, look, you can really hear the watch ticking.
Hey, we gotta have some fun.
Like an ASMR.
Gotta have some fun.
Where? You can hear watch ticking?
Yeah, no, the audio. That's what.
Oh,
you get. I can buy watch sounds in.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Can't hear anything.
Bad joke. Joe couldn't even get it.
Nope. I never get it.
Man. You know what? I want to thank Kanga, since he's here. We lost Aaron. He heard Oro. He was out. he was out.
He was ready to hit the button right then, man. Just
I said you heard Oro once and you took off.
You're out of here, man.
Oh man. Oro's stupid.
So Kanga, thank you so much. So I've been sending him, you know, every time I DJ, I record my set, and I sent him a link, or I posted a link, and then he messaged me saying like, "Hey man, why does the recording sound like it was like in 24, you know, kbps or whatever some low, really low bit rate is." And I was like, I don't know, let me check the recorder. So I checked the recorder. Turns out the input had a compressor on it. I'm like, I didn't even know. I was like, oh crap. So I turned that off, and then so there's no compression going in, and it still kind of sounded, you know, the following week, 64 kbs. That's what he said. And he's like, no, it's still kind of weird. And I listened to it again too. I was like, huh. So I actually revamped everything. I decided to try and keep everything in the digital domain. So my decks are digital and the mixer is digital. So I got my Mogami RCAs, because those Mogami RCAs are digital RCAs, 75 ohm. And so the music went from the decks into the mixer digitally. And then I did a USB from the deck to my laptop instead of going into my Zoom, which is where I was recording it before. And recorded it straight into Logic. And oh my gosh, the like difference in sound quality from this recording from last week's recording and the week before. Oh my gosh, huge. So I'm stoked about that.
Cool.
Stoked about that because like I upload every set, right? And I tell people to come and like, scan my little whatever card, and they get the link for the recording. They just have to go to like Tusk Bar, Mammoth Mountain, and then look for the date. And then they got the whole, because they're like, oh, where did this music is great. I've never heard this before. I'm like, oh, well, the recording, will be uploaded tonight. So, scan my little card here and you get all my links and stuff. So that was a really cool part of the weekend. I got to figure out how to get like really, really good sound. Although, so I go on Friday to set up, and as I'm walking through with my two big carts, 4 PA speakers, like all my decks and stuff, and one of the bartenders is like, there's another DJ setting up right now, and I'm like, what? and we're just like, what's? She's like, I don't know, go talk to the manager. And I'm going over there and I look, and yeah, somebody's outside setting up where I would be playing, and like speakers and stuff. I'm like, what's going on? And then so they do this thing every year here. It's called Elevation Week, and that's like gay ski week. So they have like all these events, and apparently on the Friday they had a costume contest. So they were rating people that came down the mountain in like costumes. So they had their own DJ for that, and he was going to play from 11 to 2. So I was like, oh, okay. So I'll just play from 2 to 4. Okay, cool. And that was fine. And then my wife was like, well, and we only have one car right now because my other car can't turn. My old 2008 is on its way out, I guess. Anyway, so
Tesla, then the $100,000 one, just go get that, bro.
No, we already I almost put a deposit on this RS5.
Okay.
Which, I mean, there's a $10,000 markup for it right now, but anyway, that's not what's happening. But anyway, she's like, should I come back up and pick you up? And and so she does, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay here. She's like, why are you gonna stay if you're on at 2:00? I'm like, because I still have to set up my stuff, right? I can't have like an extra hour in between. This guy tears down his stuff, I set up my stuff, and then the other thing was I wanted to make sure I didn't play any songs that he played, because don't want to have any repeats, right? But yeah, that was pretty fun.
Well, that's good. You learned some stuff about your recording process.
Yeah,
that's always good.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And then some friends of mine, like from my big time party days back 1999 to 2003, they were there, and they were like, dude, play some more electronic music. And I got into some like, some throwbacks for them. And we were talking, and he's, one of my buddies like, this is so cool. You have this gig every weekend. I was like, yeah. So they're super excited for me.
Sweet,
so
man.
a lot of stuff. And in the meantime, I'm DJing Friday and Saturday, and I'm on the phone texting with these car dealerships. Like, and I'm like, my wife is like, call me as soon as you can. I'm like, crap. So I put on a long song, I run inside, get on the phone. They're like, oh, they said this car is going to come in like 2 weeks, and yada, yada. And oh man.
You learn anything new, Michael, since we last spoke? I mean, it's been a while.
You've been on like home theater tours all over the place,
dude. Yeah, the past 3 days, Jessica scheduled 3 home theater tours. So I drove down to Cape Coral, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from me. Dude, that house was incredible. Beautiful home. This is definitely on the upper end echelon kind of thing. This guy was involved in every aspect of the build. He drew it up in CAD himself, ran all the wires to all of the whole house audio. Beautiful setup, dude. He's got 12 or 13 theater seats, 3 rows, risers, 18-inch risers, 14-foot ceiling, 206-inch diagonal, 2.35 Kaleidoscape, running an Emotiva RMC1 processor, Emotiva amps, and then DIY sound group. Dude, those things stinking rock. I've heard them one other time. Incredible speakers. And when you're thinking each one of those are probably like $500, and this is a massive size room, and you had 4 stereo integrity 24s. So 224s up front, 224s in the back. My goodness, man, it was phenomenal. And then he's like, "Oh, I got some other cool stuff to show you after we did that." And so we went to the living room. He's got a 7.1 in-wall system there, just something pretty basic, clips. Even had the subwoofer, sealed subwoofer in-wall. Then we go into the master bedroom that has a 5.1, very similar in-ceiling clip speakers, just for some, some extra stuff, nothing like high end there. But he had a rack system in the bedroom, which was pretty cool. And then he's like, "Oh, I got one more thing I want to show you if you want to." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm down." So we go out in his garage, dude. He's got lifts in the garage. He's got a
lifts for like hydraulic lifts for cars.
Yes. So he had 2 cars up on the top. The daily drivers were on the bottom. And honestly, I'm not a car guy, but I think it was a Cadillac, but he had it souped up, 900 horsepower. I was like,
yeah, probably like a CTSV or something like that.
Yeah.
That sounded about right.
I don't know. I don't know what model it was. So he had that. He's got this cool truck, and then he's got this. He had his garage was kind of laid out, just super neat, super clean. So I told him, I did a tour of Matt Mormon with Obsessed Garage. I'm like, Matt would be proud of this kind of garage because it's all tidy and all his tools are nice and neat and all these cabinets. And he was familiar with Matt's channel. Then we go around the corner and there's like a 32-foot boat. I'm like, so it was cool, man. So we had a blast. But
so what did you learn about that? What did you learn?
So number one, I learned that I don't have that kind of cash.
No, neither does he. He just takes tax write-offs and leases all that stuff.
This family, seriously, they were super, super humble. It definitely wasn't about. I basically had to kind of pull the story of. I wanted to make sure that people understood that he built this thing, like he designed it. He ran. It wasn't just a blank check. Even his projector's $50,000. But of course, he shared with me what he paid for it, which wasn't even near that. Still a lot of money, but nowhere near 50 grand. So he got a pretty good youth man deal on that. But so I'll have that on the channel, but I'm also doing some living room setups. Like I filmed one today, it was a Paradigm living room setup. I did another bedroom setup, 12 by 13 bedroom setup that has a single 18 up front, 2 15s in the rear, 120-inch screen diagonal. So just a lot of fun stuff, man. But I've been going and going and going. So now it's time to start editing. I told Jessica, hold off on scheduling anymore. Let me get some of these edited, get caught up on some work, and but just having a blast, man. I love meeting people that are as passionate about home theater as I am, and probably even then some. So that's been the really cool part of me, and just hearing their stories, hearing their journey, how they built it over time, things that they learned from the build. If they could go back and do it over, what would they do differently?
Yeah, what would they change? Or
because I think that adds value to those videos other than just entertainment. Like, oh, that's a cool setup. But really, I want to capture that journey and those things that they learn so that knowledge can be passed on, to somebody else that's considering doing something similar in their space. So
yeah,
a lot of fun, man.
Oh, that's huge. And then making all these videos, it's like, everybody else gets like random inspiration.
Yeah.
Right. And you talk about, somebody says, "Oh, I had this issue and this is what I did to work around it." And like, who knows, maybe a few other 100 people have the same issue and can get that same like nugget of information,
Yeah. They may just pull a design idea. They're like, "Oh,
yeah,
I like
sure.
how he did this," or "I like how he did that," or "Man, my cable management sucks compares to his and he did it all himself." Okay, maybe I just need to take some time to tidy up my wires because I really was inspired by how clean they looked. Things like that. There's a ton of things you can get.
I'd be like, who can I pay to do this? Because I really do not like cable management at all. It's like a some sort of jungle back there behind my TV.
Yeah, that's one of those things. It's like you don't want to do it, but then when you get behind there, you're like, oh gosh, this would be so much easier if it was like tidied up. And so mine looks nothing like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Launch
yeah. Samuel Hooks, $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Samuel. Denon AVR X8500A or Marantz AV 8805. I think this was also his question here. Yep. People say the Denon product. So which one better for movie watching, the Denon or the Marantz?
Yeah, I mean,
What do you guys think?
my thought, I mean, honestly, I don't know if you did a blind A/B test between those two processors, I'm just not certain that you're going to hear an amazing difference. I really don't. I think both of them are quality. Now, is the 8500? I'm not as familiar with Denon, is because they don't really have a processor.
It's
right?
not a processor.
AVR?
That's just their biggest
Okay.
AVR. It's their beastly
Gotcha.
13 channel. Is it 16?
At first,
channel?
yeah. At
No,
first, I
no,
was
it does.
thinking
Yeah,
that.
it processes 16 channel, right?
Gotcha.
Or 15, I think.
I mean,
Power's 13, and then I guess my question is, do you already have amplifiers, and if so, are those amplifiers? Do they have XLR balanced inputs? If that's the case, I don't know. Maybe I would lean toward that, the Marantz. But it's like what Mike was saying. If you want to actually try to hear a difference, I don't think you're gonna.
Yeah, I don't know.
It would be tough to like.
What's the price? What's the price of these?
Well, let's see if you can pull them up, Chana.
Yeah.
You're pretty quick at that.
Because I think a lot of times it does come down to price, right?
Yeah, sure.
From
So
what
that-
I've seen, I know that the Marantz, like a lot of times they have an equivalent Marantz and Denon product.
Mhm.
In this
And
case,
I know
they do
that
not.
they don't, right? But I know that Marantz always uses that HDAM, HDAM,
HDAM, yeah.
whatever that is. I guess it's like, something to make it sound warmer. But I've seen measurements on these things, and a lot of times the Denon actually measures better because they're not doing that.
Yeah, that stands
So-
for hot dang, right? Is that
Hot
what that stands
dang. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if people really
for? So it's
prefer that
$5,000
sound.
It's $5,000
Yeah,
for the
I
processor.
just found it on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, 8805A is 5,000.
5,000. All right.
So that's with no amplification. So now
All right.
if you've got 13 channels that you're
Aaron's
trying to
favorite
process,
website.
you've got several several amplifiers there that you're going to need to. So let's say you spend $3,000 on 11 channels. So I mean, you're at least at $8,000 to $10,000 probably for that system.
What's the other one?
The other one is $4,000.
4,000. But so realistically, if you're spending 4Gs, you're not using the internal amps on that.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think people really do that when you go up to those higher end models. It's like if you're using one of the lower end Denons, then you're probably using the internal amplification. But once you start doing external, I don't know. They all have that dedicated preamp mode.
Yeah.
I think it's going to depend on whether you want XLR output, right? This has XLR.
Yep.
And most of the other ones only have RCA.
Yeah.
I don't
The
like
Denon-
this
the Denon
little
will have-
window here that you see on the Marantz. To me, that's not usable. I always had to open up. Yeah, always had to open up the bottom there to actually see what was going on the screen, which doesn't look as good.
So I just look at the screen up on top. Everything I need is
you
on the
could,
screen.
you
On
could.
my 150-inch screen. So
Yeah,
that's better
Yeah.
than little.
but actually, I turn off the on-screen volume because sometimes if you're turning up the volume and you're watching a movie, you don't want to see the thing
Gotcha. That makes sense.
pop up. I don't know. I think for $1,000, what else could you spend on? Right, you'd probably spend on
All right. Michael says that
amplifier. Right?
there's got to be something else. Michael, what do you recommend, man? He says don't
Yeah,
pigeonhole
there's
yourself.
lots of options.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're
those,
spending that kind of
audio
dough,
control.
like, you have a lot of options, right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, okay, so we say that, but all right, so that 8805 is a 13-channel processor. Well, yeah, you're right, because you can get a HTP1 for around that price.
Yep.
You can probably get the Emotiva RMC one. I don't even know what it's running out. At the time when I reviewed it, it was like $6,000, but I think they've dropped it down to $5,000. I just heard one literally at that huge home theater, and he was running an RMC one. Phenomenal. So hopefully they've worked out the bugs since I reviewed it, but it sounds incredible, dude. I mean, absolutely incredible. So I think you're right. There are a lot of options out there. You just got to figure out what has the features that you're looking for, the amount of HDMI inputs, whether it's XLR you're going to be using or RCA.
So here's one thing so we know one thing about these two that we're comparing. Let's put it up on screen. Let's get this guy out of here.
Okay.
So the 8500 the Denon is a receiver. The Marantz is a pre-pro. So you're going to need amplifiers with the Marantz. The other thing is that the Marantz will process 13 channels. The Denon will process 15. So if you want to move the Denon or keep it longer, if you're planning on moving or revamping and doing, you want 6 height channels, you want 9 ear level speakers,
Right.
For full 15 channel setup, then if that's what you want to do and you're thinking, hey, cool, I'll just get the Denon, and then you won't have to worry about amplifiers or anything unless you want to add those. Of course, you can. But I think that's going to be
pick? Which one would you pick?
Who, me?
Yeah, out of those two, you had to choose.
If I'm living here, I would pick the Marantz because I already have amplifiers. Right? I know I only have a 10 speaker system. I'm not going to have a bigger room if I live here. If I'm going to move somewhere else, then maybe the Denon. But I mean, that's all.
Basically, you're not sweating it. Like you wouldn't sweat it if you had either one. I think you'd be happy. For me, I'd probably pick the Denon just because the more channels of processing.
Yeah.
I like the way it looks better, actually. Yeah. So it depends also if it's stored away somewhere else where you're not going to see it. But yeah, I think it's a good idea to look at some of the other options as well.
Sure.
Just keep in mind what room correction they have, because both of these have the same room correction.
Right.
I think you're going to be good either way. I wouldn't use the automatic room correction if you're going to go full auto. If you don't know how to do the calibration yourself, I would recommend maybe something with Dirac, like the HTP one, because I think it does a great job of auto calibration.
I mean, if you want to, I would recommend, maybe going with the Denon, and then, budgeting a little bit, talk to my man up here, right there. No, there. Okay, I can't even point correctly. Talk to, get a consultation with Joe and have him dial in your system, because that was probably the best my system's ever sounded. So,
thank you. We got to do it again, by the way.
I know we got to do it again for the new speakers that are here. And then, I just happen to have one of the Denons in stock. So just shoot me an email.
Hey, relax over there. Relax. That thing has my name on it.
No. The one he wants. You
okay. The one he wants. Okay. I was going to say the other one. Hey.
Oh, yeah. So moving on, we got Joshua Peters. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. How much of it?
Sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
How much of an upgrade would you say going from SVS Ultra Towers and Center to 3 JTR 212 HTRs for my front stage? I haven't heard the JTRs, but I would imagine that's going to be a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
Just a guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mike.
I haven't heard the JTRs.
Yeah, y'all need. I think y'all would do yourself a favor, man, if you ever heard one. I mean, I definitely, and it's not because I own them. It's because before I owned any of them, I went up and I heard 3 JTR systems, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, these are phenomenal. I mean, I've heard them on music systems. I've heard them on home theater systems, and it's everything that my ears like. The detail, the clarity, the dynamics. It's not shrilling. It's definitely not, in your face. It's in your face as far as forward sounding, but it's not like shrill by any means.
Well, you see, I mean, Aaron's heard him. Look at how excited he is.
I mean, look at his face right now.
Look at that. Oh, he gave it a thumbs up. That's always a good thing.
Actually, I haven't heard that model, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about those. I would assume that they would be a step up. I'm also assuming they're like, what, 3 or 4 times the price?
Quite a bit more. So
quite a bit more.
Well, they're about 3,500, I think. I haven't looked at the website lately.
Well, how about this?
Yeah,
somewhere around there. Yeah, that's probably about right.
How about SVS is about 1,000 a piece, so they're 3 times the cost.
Because you've heard at least some JTRs, right? He's not those specific ones, but let's just say those JTRs versus some of the SVS stuff that you have heard. Well, you've done what, bookshelf speakers?
Who,
Aaron?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm out of this conversation.
No, I'm just saying. From my experience, most of the SVS stuff sounds very similar. They sound very similar in tonality.
The only SVS speaker that I've heard is the center channel. So
okay,
that's and then the JTR was their lower line of their 10-inch woofers. So those needed EQ to do it right. But with EQ they were fine. But without EQ, I was not a fan.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'm saying. So when this person's asking about this question, I don't have any experience with the speaker that he's asking about, because it's a step up in the JTR line, and then I don't have any experience with the SVS speakers other than the center channel.
Yeah, I guess my question was more so, let's say, when I look at those JTRs, I see that huge horn, that huge, you know, I expect that to sound a certain way. Like my brain just says that's going to sound this particular way, right? Versus a normal, not a normal speaker, but a typical speaker that's just like, you know, cone and dome, right?
Yeah,
I would imagine that's going to sound a little bit different.
I would think so.
Is it like that? Is it like my brain is saying like, that looks like it's going to just like...
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, well, I don't know what the angle on the JTR is. So which one is this we're talking about here?
212.
I'm curious. I'll look it up.
212 HTRs.
12 HTR. Let's see here.
Versus the SVS Ultra Towers.
Just want to see what the...
So I've reviewed the SVS Ultra Towers. It's been many years ago. That was like one of the first reviews that I did. I did the Klipsch RF7 threes, and then right after that, I reached out to SVS, and I was wanting to get their PB16s in. And Nick was like, "Man, you know, we'll be glad to send those to you, but we're curious to see what you think about our Ultra Towers." And he said, especially since you're like a Klipsch guy, you love the sound of that. We'd just be curious. And so they're a great sounding speaker. There's no doubt. I mean, they have their limitations because they've got side firing woofers. So there's an 8-inch firing left, 8-inch firing right on both of those towers. So
and that for my space, that doesn't work.
Yeah, placement on those is going to be different.
It's tricky. I'd say. Like if you had those behind your would those work behind your screen mic since you have that like cavity there?
So the difficulty with me is I really like towers don't work because it puts that tweeter way too high.
Really?
So
right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because think about it, my platform is probably about...
Oh, that's right. I forgot you got a big old... Yeah, that's right. You've got a big platform that you put yours on. Okay.
Yeah, because I've got my cabinet beneath that platform.
Right,
so
right.
I kind of needed to elevate that.
Yeah.
So, and like an MTM works way better for my setup. Even with my Klipsch La Scalas, that tweeter was a little high. And I was tempted to flip it upside down, but I knew it looked dorky, so I didn't mess with it. I just dealt with it and kind of angled it forward a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the JTR. So they're saying it's a 60 by 60 coverage pattern, which means it's like plus or minus 30 horizontally and vertically. But basically that just means it's really narrow compared to probably what you're going to get with the SVS, with it being a dome.
They're kind of like there's a spray deal, right? With
right. So with the dome tweeter, it's probably going to be a broader coverage pattern out to like maybe 8 or 10 kilohertz, and then it'll start to narrow up. But when I say broader, you're probably talking like just off the top, maybe plus or minus 60 degrees, like plus or minus 60 degrees, right? So 120 degrees out in front of the speaker versus the JTR would be 60 degrees out in front of the speaker. So it's much more narrow. Yeah. So you'll have to, you'll get less side reflection, but you'll have to take more care with aiming. And then there's that whole broad sense of sound versus a narrow sense of sound. And do you want acoustic filling or not filling, but treatment in your room? So that's why they would sound completely different. Yeah. They're completely different speakers. With just that alone, we're not even talking about the sensitivity and we don't know what the linearity is of either one of them, right? But we can assume that the JTR would probably go lower. I don't know. It might give up extension.
Yeah, they don't dig super deep. Oh goodness, I'll have to look.
So here's a question for you, Aaron. Is we always talk about, lately we've been talking about, the radiation pattern. How obvious is that difference between something that really is, kind of like a narrow pattern versus a wide pattern?
Is
that extremely audible?
If you can A/B it, it's immediately noticeable. Like it's no question at all.
Right.
Now, if they're kind of close within like plus or minus 10 degrees, then all things else equal, it may not be as big of a deal. It'll be noticeable.
Yeah.
But the problem too is that like when you're comparing different speakers with different radiation and coverage patterns, they're not all as linear as each other, right? Like, so I guess what I mean to say is you may have one speaker that has a broader radiation pattern, but it may be broad at like a certain range of frequencies, and then it may narrow up, and then it may get broad again at the crossover region. So that's why you gotta say, okay, all things equal, if both of them are consistently wide or one of them is consistently narrow, then you would definitely notice the difference. And I prefer a speaker that has a broader radiation pattern, just personally speaking.
Yeah. So that's what's interesting though is that's not a spec that you normally see. Right? You don't go on shop for speakers and it's not like, oh, okay, this is the radiation pattern of the speaker.
But Pro Audio
right?
has that.
Pro Audio does, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of interesting that, like you're saying, if everything were equal, you'd notice a big difference between something that had a wide versus narrow radiation pattern. So
especially like the more reflective that your room is, the more engaged that your room would be. You know, like that definitely makes a difference.
When when I'm shopping for speakers for my work, for my business, whatever, I noticed that the QSC 10-inch has a 90-degree dispersion pattern, but the 12-inch, when you go up to the 12-inch, boom, it cuts it down to 75 degrees. Right?
Hey, Aaron, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Take a look at the bottom of that JTR page. Somebody had made a comment that they've got measurements from database. So that has a link.
Oh, yeah. I just pulled that up, but it looks like it's limited in high, like it doesn't have high frequency. It's database is like more base oriented, right? So a lot of the measurements that I saw, it looks like they're cutting off at 200. So they do have one. Yeah. I mean, this looks like, actually, this one doesn't even make sense. Yeah, there's one graphic on here that makes 0 sense whatsoever. Yeah, I don't. I could throw it up there. Hold on, let me do this.
Throw it up. Yeah, throw it up.
I'll just throw it up there. We'll do that. Share screen.
Let's do a little live.
Let's do it, man.
Live analysis.
Just so when I say I had no idea what that means. So this right here, you guys know what I'm looking at here?
Oh, isn't this that song? My hump, my hump, my hump.
My hump, my
Check
hump,
it out.
But look, it stops at 2K, right? So the speaker obviously plays further than that. So I don't know if he just like disabled the horn section.
Okay, that's
I don't know what this measurement is. It doesn't make sense if it's
not a normal measurement.
Just the woofer?
If it's this speaker, right? It makes 0 sense.
Yep, that's what I have.
I'm wondering if he's got the wrong measurement on there.
It's just the woofer only.
Yeah, something.
Why would you measure? Well, I guess like you said, if it's just data base.
Yeah, because Josh. Yeah, is it Ricci? I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. He was always base oriented. I don't know if he ever did any like full range tests.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm not seeing anything that would kind of help me determine the
like I said, I knew you'd be able to kind of understand that way better than I can.
I guess I just want to give you a quick shout out for the stuff that you're doing because you are providing that data. I mean, I love seeing the polar pattern, seeing how it looks like. That helps me understand it. Now, what I would love to do is kind of help people understand what the connection is, right? Like, how does that actually sound? What is the difference? And unless you've heard the difference, it's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, it is.
It's really difficult
hard to explain. But I mean, you can kind of, if you can visualize the sound, like leaving the speaker going out into the room, you can think if it's really wide, then it's going to touch more surfaces and then be reflected back to you. But if it's really narrow, it's touching less surfaces.
That can be good or bad depending on the environment, right?
Right. I mean, and some people just have a preference for one thing or the other. Some people don't like a lot of room interaction, and like if the environment, let's say you live in like a really swanky living room type setup, and you've got glass everywhere, you may not want a wide radiation speaker. I mean, I don't know. These are things that are also dependent upon what the person prefers. But again, we are assuming that the speaker is well engineered because there are a lot of speakers that have wide radiation, but at some point it's called directivity, right? So it's like how well is the off-axis response maintained to the on-axis response,
sure.
Right? And at some point, if on a bad speaker, that directivity changes. So when you get to the crossover point, basically, as you go higher in frequency, your mid-woofers start to narrow up and become more focused. But when you get to the tweeter, now all of a sudden everything is wide again. So there's that inconsistency at the crossover region. So whatever is hitting you directly versus what's hitting the sob walls is going to be different, right? So that's not a good thing, basically.
Yeah, I messaged you a few days ago saying, man, this whole thing with directivity and dispersion, it's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Right? When you say the two.
Yeah, no, directivity sounds like I said to you, it almost is like an oxymoron in the way that because when you think of the word directivity, you expect that you're talking about something that does narrow up, but directivity is just like a way of saying this is how broad or how narrow the speaker is, right?
Yeah.
So if
some people say wide directivity, right? Some people say wide, and some people
right.
Like, so high directivity would actually mean narrow.
Yeah.
high. So that's kind of
The
confusing.
higher the number,
It's like it's
Directivity is
counterintuitive, right?
narrow.
it is. Yeah, it's what I'm saying. It doesn't sound right. Like, I'm
Because
glad I'm not the only person who thinks that, because for the longest time I had to stop and think about it before I said it. Like,
But dispersion is
saying this
actually dispersion characteristic is insinuating kind of like the opposite, right? Like how wide, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You're it's kind of the two opposites. So anyway, I had a conversation with a guy where we're kind of saying the same thing, but we're kind of getting mixed up on the directivity and dispersion, because he was saying wide, and I was saying high or low, and we're like, no, we're saying the same thing.
saying the
So
same
from
thing.
now on, I think I'm just going to talk about the pattern. Is it a wide or narrow pattern? To me, that
Yeah,
makes
that's
more sense. I don't know.
that's fine.
Anyway.
I'd use them all interchangeably, man. Just depends on.
FOMO's
words
in the
I feel like
house,
using.
ladies and gentlemen.
What's
Stop the
up?
FOMO. He says with
FOMO.
multi-channel, I think radiation pattern, especially controlled dispersion, is especially important. Well, that's a good point. If you got a bajillion speakers, you don't need them all having 130-degree dispersion, right? If you got 7 ear level speakers, 4 height channels,
I think
it's probably not going
talked
to be
about
good.
that. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit backstage last week. I think.
Yeah, we
were
should
all
have a
kind of
whole thing about that. We should go into detail and like really try
I
to
still
figure
haven't
it
read
out.
that white paper, by the way, but I need to.
I'm starting
and
to
I
think that you
never
have to.
I never emailed Randall about it.
I'm starting to think that you want to be able to localize to a certain degree.
Some things.
I don't know,
feel like-
man.
Something.
I
don't
feel
know.
like at a certain point, yeah, I think that's part of the trick.
Yeah, I think it's changed. I mean, back in, when we first got into this, or I did, 15 years ago, or actually even longer than that. I mean, back in Dolby Pro Logic days, you wanted just this kind of a smearing effect to where it all just blends together and you don't know where things are coming from. But with the new audio formats, I think there is some value in having those kind of more directive to where your ears can kind of know where in the room it's supposed to, or where it's coming from. And it probably helps the sound mixers when they're trying to blend two speakers to make an object appear like it's in between those speakers,
Like more precise, you're saying. Now that we have more channels and they're all discrete,
Yeah.
We can be more precise. And I think I've been thinking that way too. It's almost like resolution. Right? When we talk about resolution with pixels, let's say for cameras, the more pixels you have, the more detailed you can draw that particular image, right? And so I'm wondering if it starts to become more like that, where the more speakers you have, the more detailed it becomes. And, if it's kind of like smeared, where it's kind of like, all the speakers blending into each other, I don't know that that's a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
we gotta
I
figure
think
it
that's
out.
probably the same topic that we have. How does it relate to your room? What do you prefer? Right? Because it's okay to prefer a particular sound.
Sure.
FOMO said control directivity, which I think all speakers should have that, right? Like that just means that the on axis follows the off axis sound follows the on axis sound. But how tightly controlled do you want it, right? So I mean, you could theoretically have a sound radiation that is the exact same on axis as it is anywhere else around it. That would be like a true omnidirectional speaker. Or if you had a speaker that beamed, just a straight line of sound only at 0 degrees, and if you went 5 degrees aside, you heard absolutely nothing, which
That'd be rough.
I don't think that's real. Like, I don't think that's actually going to happen. But that would be like the complete opposite end. You know what I'm saying? So directivity falls somewhere in between there. And then how broad or how narrow do you want it? There's that lexicon, I think it's the SCL-1, and I want to try to get my hands on it.
Okay.
That's a really interesting speaker. Let me pull that up real fast just so you guys can see what I'm talking
Lexicon.
about.
Now they make.
By the way, thank you for the super chat, FOMO.
Yep. Thank you, FOMO.
Big super chat. And he
$20.
says, I would totally take you out to lunch, Joe, to dial in my trade off. Hey, I'm always down.
He likes to eat.
Take you out.
Yeah, I'm always
Joe
down. We'll
eats.
make something happen.
Chana says for that many hours. Joe says for that many hours on your setting your deal up.
Oh man,
good.
So
it's gonna be
what
a
is
good
that
spot.
thing?
Huh?
Check
So
those
that's-
out, dude.
So
What's
it's
that?
a
Is that a
true
Bluetooth speaker?
That's like an omnidirectional speaker. I don't know if it's Bluetooth. It came
That's
out
dude.
a couple years ago. It might actually have that capability. I don't know, but it's supposed to be.
I like that.
And you're supposed to be able to control how narrow or how wide you want the beam to be.
So it's beam
So
forming.
that's why I want to. Yeah. That's why I want to
Yeah.
play around with it just to see. Like
Nice.
I don't necessarily want to put it on the clipple, but I don't even know, man.
You've never heard any like sort of
If you
beam
have
forming?
to ask, Mike. If you have,
I think it's a
ask.
couple hundred is my guess.
I don't know if it's that expensive. It came out in 2019.
It has built-in LEDs, man. It has to be worth
Oh
it.
yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Wah, wah, wah.
So have you ever heard any beamforming technology like in person?
I have
It's pretty trippy.
per listen.
Oh, probably.
Oh, they
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah. I was thinking of like big line array type things, like at a concert or something like that. Like
no, they were actually using them. They were using them at Best Buy for like a video game demo, and it was really weird. Like if you stepped into the square, you could hear all the sound, but the moment you kind of stepped away, like all the sound went away. Very weird sensation. You're like, whoa, what the heck?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what because like I know Per Listen uses beamforming. That's kind of like one of their big things on that, in the way they design their speakers. So and definitely when you walk off axis, I mean, you still get sound. It's not like that disappears.
Yeah, no, this demo that I got, or at Best Buy, is really like very
sound like one of those Bose demos.
Yeah, it was for a video game. That's what's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is weird. It's a video game.
So cool. Before we get too far, Chana, we probably got a bunch of he's pulling up.
Yeah, let's go.
But definitely got a bunch of starred stuff I've been kind of putting in the
High Finest 343. Thanks for the super chat.
Man.
$4.99. We love you for that. Dual SB16 or dual per listen D212 for 3,000 foot room. Asking for a friend. Driver's square inch is almost the same. Would there be a big difference? Oh, I guess he's saying surface area is almost the same.
Yeah. Well, part of it is you're looking at the D212 is like a push-pull configuration. I believe that's in kind of like a ported design, versus the SB16s are going to be sealed.
No. If anything's push-pull, it's going to be a sealed cabinet.
Oh, is it?
Right, because it creates the vacuum for if one's out, the other one's in, and vice versa, right?
I guess what's throwing me off is they have vents on the side of those.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Because but so maybe it's firing out, but that's still sealed, but it's pushing out those side vents. I don't know.
Yeah,
so
maybe it may be more of a design thing too.
Yeah. And I would assume this is a 3,000 cubic foot room.
Probably.
Quick side note, I just put up my video today of my review of the rails, and I was talking about cubic feet, and this one guy, this one comment, the guy totally deleted it. He probably realized, like, hey, I'm totally.
Well, he basically said your square feet
like,
is the same as cubic
math,
feet.
Your math has got to be way off, bro. 4,300 cubic feet is the same as 4,300 square feet. No,
it's not.
No, it is not.
Dude, I suck at math.
You realize there's that little number at the top of feet that says squared or cubed, and that matters.
Well, 2 and 3.
What is it? Square feet is length times width. Yeah. And then getting the volume is length times width times height. So there's a third number.
Right.
So, by his math, 4,300 feet is the same thing as 4,300 square feet.
So hold on. He's like, so you're saying that your living room is a little bit more than 4,300 square feet? That's twice the size of my entire house. That's more volume than you believe.
Yeah.
Shaq is 7 feet tall and basically a billionaire. Shaq doesn't have a 4,300 square foot living room. I'm like, what? What is going on, dude? You're so wrong, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, cubic foot and square foot are
so the answer to this question is, so again, is there a price difference? I don't know what the price is on these things, because
there's a massive price difference.
I would always guess that per listen, just based on the other stuff that they've done,
probably going to be pretty legit, right? Probably going to be
mess around, but the price is also not messing around.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they're able to hit THX dominance, and it's not just about output. THX measures a lot of different parameters, distortion, and different things like that. Not to say that the SB16 couldn't, but I just think that from what I've seen, they're in a different category. They really, really are. So,
yeah, I would go for per listen D. What is that? 212 without even hearing them. Just guessing. That's just my guess.
Put it this way: I've heard the D215s in a theater room, and then I also heard, I forget the model number, but it's a brand new model. It's completely sealed. It's on my video of the Per Listen Insider, the home, not the home theater tour, but the Insider.
The Insider video, yeah.
Yeah, where I was actually at Per Listen headquarters, and they had a pair of these 10s, and so it's a, let me think, it's a 10-inch. Let me think, is it oh gosh, I'd have to go back and look at it. If it was like a 10-inch with 2 of them push-pull configuration, or if there's 3 10s in each one, that part I don't remember. But regardless, those things freaking slammed. And we were in a massive room. I mean, we're talking, I think the ceiling was over 20 feet tall because it's kind of like a warehouse. So go check out that video. It was incredibly impressive. Tim was over there with me. We both looked at each other like, holy cow.
I think it's that one track too, though, because I think Rob E played that track. I played the track. I think Rob E played that track, and I think he messaged me on Discord. I got tagged in a message basically saying, if something breaks, I'm blaming you, because it's like that, right?
But this thing, it's a monster, man. The D212, D215s. I mean, good golly, man, it's crazy.
Aaron, did you ever get a chance to test out that track, that 16-bit Bjorn? What is it called?
No, yeah, the one that you guys were bouncing back and forth, and there's a remix stuff. No,
dude,
I did not.
You know, like how bass CDs, they kind of like manufacture the bass, like sound as good as possible, kind of like, you know,
or bad depending on.
I
know what you mean.
But you know what I mean, like. There's certain tones, right? Like
they'll just hit like, well, it's like, you know, it's like Jeezy's music, right? Like trap music, a lot of it just hits like 3 tones. It's like 25 hertz, 32 hertz, 40 hertz, and it's just
it's on this.
That is a sealed enclosure.
Do you guys know what that is? That is an 808. That's what an 808 is.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're doing to this particular track, but it's just like almost like how are you able to like play it that loud? I feel like my volume, I know what that volume is supposed to be. And then when the bass kicks in, like, whoa, that's way louder than I thought that was supposed to be.
That's awesome, though.
It's weird. You got to check it out.
Your eyeballs rattle? If your eyeballs don't rattle, it's not enough.
Well, I showed you guys. Yeah. That's a nutty little demo. You guys got to check it out and get back to us and let us know how it is.
Yeah. Speaking of subs, anyone with overhead subs?
I don't have them. I've been to home theaters. Some of my home theater tours from, I think it was a Kansas City group. A guy had 2, I believe they're called Galler horns.
So
massive in-ceiling. He put them up in his rafters kind of thing. So the reality is subs they don't know where they're at, you know, whether they're on the ceiling, on the floor. I would think they're going to have pretty much the same boundary gain on the ceiling as they would on the floor. But you can have really, really great bass response in the ceiling. But again, I think it's harder to figure out where best to put those because you kind of get to do it once. I mean, there's not a whole lot of playing around, whereas on the floor, you can try this corner, you can try in the middle, you can try in the rear.
You're stuck with your one location, right? Like you just got to make it work.
I think it's going to be more difficult to implement, but absolutely it can be done because I've heard it in ceiling. So, and I've seen other guys that have done that. Not a lot of people, but it definitely, I think you can do that effectively. Just make sure they're anchored.
Yeah, can you imagine? Because one of those Galler horns would kill you.
It's like 400 pounds, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's no joke. They would legit crush you.
Yeah. So know what you're doing. And
before you get a trained professional in there to like advise you and probably just do the install. But screw it. If I was involved, I'd be like, I'm gonna pay somebody.
So check out this comment from Tim. So Tim was there with me. He was helping me with filming and picked me up from the airport. Super appreciative for him. He edits all our videos here on Daily HiFi. So big shout out to Tim. But he said my voice was modulating as I was talking to him while those subs were pounding. And I'm like
talking into a fan.
Yeah. It was an experience. I'll be honest. It was pretty stinking.
Can you hear the bass, Tim?
We got a super chat here. Who's this?
Super chat. Hold on. We got a few. Let's see. Boy Genius 499. He had a question for Aaron.
Oh, there you go.
For Aaron, I have plus and minus switches, voice/tweeter, and bass for the surrounds on all my surround and Atmos speakers. I have all neutral now. Oh, neutral now.
He's got them set to neutral now. Move them all to plus before Odyssey. So I was just asking him if he has somebody that can flip them all, and so he could stay in the seat, listen. He said there's like 4 of them, so it would take forever.
Oh wow.
So
You just need an assistant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would, and they're the Atmos channels for surrounds. Oh no, just for surrounds.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It wouldn't take that long, right? To switch them.
No, I was just saying so he could kind of like hear it without having to get up and try to remember how it sounded.
Oh,
You know,
gotcha.
I don't, those plus or minus, sometimes they're like 2 dB and sometimes they're 6 dB. So I don't know which ones those are, if it's big enough to tell. Sometimes a little bit you don't notice getting in and out of your seat.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you guys think? Should he flip the switch? Should he put them all to plus before Odyssey? I'm guessing he's thinking let Odyssey sort them out. So I don't know.
I would leave it at neutral.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
If I was gonna let Odyssey do it and I had those options, I would just leave it at neutral.
Yeah, and if you feel like maybe something's missing, you could play around with it then. But
After it.
yeah. Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't let Odyssey do auto anything.
I think on my ceiling speakers,
Tell
I
me how
have
you really
Put it at
I'm
neutral.
serious. I'm serious.
Call Joe.
I'm serious. No, don't forget even like I don't want to seem like I'm always promoting what I do. Right? Get yourself a U mic 1. Well,
that's what we were
if you
talking
invite
about.
me, I'll do it. But get yourself a U mic 1. Learn how to measure, right? And then figure out. It's better for you to learn for yourself, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You may change your speakers one day and have to do it all over again. So it's a good investment to have a mic. If you're getting into this sort of thing, it's a good idea to have a U mic 1. What is
I got
80
me
bucks?
a mic.
Yeah,
I got
80
$80 bucks and the
software's
REW software is free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Just gotta
Just
learn.
learn, and it's something to learn how to do. So
Yeah.
there's my anti-plug, which is you won't need my services if you learn how to do it.
Learn how to do it yourself.
Yes.
But if you don't
Yeah,
want
you'd be a lot better off learning.
But
how
if
to
you
do it
don't
yourself.
want to, then I'm here.
I'll
Yeah.
call you back. Question for
what else?
Shauna from Snoots. When can we expect your LG C2 G2 OLED reviews, and why wasn't it yesterday? We all know you have the hookup. So yeah, unfortunately my hookup is B&H Photo. So once they have it in stock, then they'll send me one to review. That's how it works. Coincidentally, I think B&H Photo is probably the last place to actually get stock on these things.
Yeah.
So I end up waiting a little bit. But it's all good. I spent, I think like 6,000 on AVRs last year, in the second half of last year. So I don't want to buy a TV to review. So I'll wait till they come in. And since we got to buy this car, I'm trying to like not overspend.
Yeah.
Pretty
All
tough
right.
for me. UK Spawn says somebody's shouting at you. I heard my puppy's barking, so I guess I would like feverishly, frantically barking. I think my wife was vacuuming. Question for Aaron. What speaker type is better for movies? In-wall, on-wall, or box speakers? That's a good one.
I don't know, man.
Your guess is as good as his.
I mean, there's so many different ways you could go with that question. I would stay away from on-wall. I'm not a fan of on-wall speakers. Personally speaking, I like in-wall speakers just because they take up no space,
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have trouble getting the bass out of an in-wall speaker like you would a box speaker, but that's what subwoofers are for, right? So honestly, that is kind of the place that I'm personally at now, because that's why I'm testing in-wall speakers, because I'm curious and I'm thinking about maybe overhauling my home theater and clearing up space. I can clear up like 3 feet
Oro.
off the front wall. I'm not going Oro.
Yes, you are.
I'm
You're
going to
gonna
go
do
back
it.
to 2.0.
No,
I
you're
will
doing it.
die.
You better put some height speakers up there.
I just
Why
have.
will you die?
Man, how would you go from what you have now to in walls?
Well, so I would get something that's worth it, right? Like I would not want to step down. Oh my God. I said something that's worth it. Not
Dang.
I'm just kidding.
So would you forget that wall altogether and just like
that wall would go. Yeah.
So you'd have
or
more
I would only
space.
build it out like maybe a foot or something,
Johnny,
but it wouldn't be 3 feet out.
Hey, dude, I can get you maybe some pricing on the Focal 300 series in wall, bro.
So
fully timbre matched, bro.
Fully
charge
tamper
them
match, bro.
charge them extra and throw in some height speakers too.
Man.
Oh,
Make sure that happens.
Do it, man.
Or
I'll be so upset if you redid your whole system, got like a
With
new
no
AVR
heights.
pre-pro, and then just stayed 5.1. I'd be like,
that would be the ultimate
I'll
troll.
be pissed.
That would be the ultimate
I'll
trolling.
be pissed.
You know what I would do? I would just put rears in only. That's the only thing I would do.
He'd use a something that's like not compatible with any of them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I just did a single center, voice of God. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all I did. Yeah, but honestly, I wish I could better answer that question. There's so many, like that's a conversation that would probably take a while, and it would probably require like to understand what it is that you like about your system now versus what you don't like or what you would want to upgrade or change for. Like, there's a lot of questions buried in that question.
I want to add to that though, real quick, just because I am currently reviewing an on-wall speaker, a center channel, and a bunch of other speakers from Heiko, the ambient series, and I am using the center channel right now on wall, and I know what the issues are. Like I've seen what you've talked about, Aaron, and it's always a trade-off.
Yeah,
right?
No,
when it comes to home theaters, there are always trade-offs.
Just like trade everything, man.
And it's kind of like, all right, I know this is not as good, right? But it's either I don't have a center channel because I'm using an ultra short throw, or I use this like little puny center channel that sucks.
Yeah.
Or I do an on wall and have to deal with the issues because I can't use in wall. So I think that's important too, is telling people, you know what? Yeah, it's not perfect. There are issues, but what are your alternatives? Sometimes if you don't have one, you either got to deal with phantom center, So I think that's important to know. In my case, it's more useful to have the center because I'm only using 2 speakers. And so for movies, if I'm not in the center, oh man.
Yeah.
I don't care how many people say that, this speaker has very wide radiation and it's perfectly timbre matched between sides and you can sit off to the side one, and I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't address the timing aspect. That's frequency magnitude only, right? Like that's the level, basically like level dependent, but there's a timing difference you can clearly hear, and there's level and time. Those are the 2 components that help you localize things laterally.
Yeah, we were watching what is that new Disney Plus movie, Turning Red, right? And I had my mom, my sister come over, and you know who was sitting in the optimal seat, like right in between the 2 speakers? No one. Everybody was all like on the floor, like all in the back of the room. So nobody was sitting in that spot. So it must have sounded pretty bad for most people, and a center channel would have helped a lot.
Yeah, there is no one size fits all in audio. Like it don't happen, man. Yeah. Like even the best of the best, like somebody could say, I've got a bunch of money and I can afford these incredible floor standing speakers, but I don't have any space. You can't do anything about that. Like you can't force them to buy those speakers.
Yeah.
So
Power Guy Mark,
thank you for the super chat, $20. Totally appreciate it. Does it not partially defeat the purpose of running room correction to go back and change it to what you measure with the tape measure?
So he's talking about distances.
Yeah. I would not change the distances. I think like that's probably one of the most accurate things that the AVR gets. Right. Like
distance. So it does time and level, right? I mean, it adjusts the level and the timing.
Yeah.
It should.
Level. I say level and distance.
So sometimes for subwoofers, this is my understanding, visually you're thinking, okay, this one subwoofer back here is 6 feet, but maybe Odyssey is showing 12 feet. And my understanding is it's trying to adjust for that timing, like what Aaron's talking about. So with you going back and changing it to the real feet, now you've adjusted the timing of that, the time alignment.
Now you've adjusted it off. Now it's off. Yeah. Now the bass is going to hit off, right? Because those waves are a lot longer.
So there's an acoustic distance and there's the physical distance.
Correct.
And so the acoustic distance a lot of times is thrown off by DSP because that adds a delay, and what your AVR is trying to do is trying to say, hey, there's a delay on the sub. That's the slowest one, right? That's the one that happens the least. So let's get everything in line with that, right? It's kind of like, it reminds me of when you're running and the slowest guy, right? Like everybody aligned to the slowest guy.
What? I've never been the slowest guy ever.
Yeah, me neither.
Slowest guy gets caught. I refuse to get caught.
But yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think it's funny when people try to say, yeah, just these measurements are wrong because I measured with a tape measure. I'm like, no, your measurements are wrong.
Yeah,
you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. I mean, I used to I usually go in and check to see what Odyssey's done with the crossovers, and I may readjust those if it chose to do something weird, like
Yeah.
set my rear heights to large. Like, okay,
Yeah.
like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So sometimes it does those weird kinds of things.
And
I think it's also different in car audio because Aaron, I asked you one time when I was redoing my car, I'm like, should I just measure? And you're like, yeah, just do the measurement. And the difference is that the amplifier, I mean, basically you're not dealing with some that are passive and some that are amplified, right?
Right.
With a subwoofer, that thing has DSP and the other stuff may not. It usually doesn't.
That's a good point, you know, especially like if the DSP has a lot of built-in latency, you know, and it is like this fellow said down here, what is it? SVS has 5.5 milliseconds of delay, you know, so I don't know, you know, if that's all SVS or what, but yeah, if it has a DSP, it's going to have some degree of latency in it. So yeah, you have to figure that one out.
Yep.
And unless you have a means to measure electronically or you measure acoustically yourself, you kind of just have to trust the software and the Denons and things like that to get it right.
Yeah, it does a good job. I mean, that's pretty simple. That's a simple measurement. What are you going to say, Michael?
I don't know. I started to say it, but it's gone.
Okay, sorry.
You got cut off.
Fleeting thought. Joe was on a roll.
Yeah.
So I just let him.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good.
He's the ball hog.
So,
Thank you for the super chat, Ronzi, $1.99.
I believe Ronzi had a question.
Yeah, it's down. It's
so
right
feel
here.
free to
It's right
post
here.
that in the chat. Cool, man.
I got it. Wanted to ask about PEQs in something like a mini DSP 88A with main speakers full range prior to running Dirac. I don't even know. That sounds like a Joe question.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask about PEQs in something like a mini DSP 88 with main speakers full range prior to running Dirac. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying. Main speaker.
Okay,
Are
how
you
about
saying
this?
to correct? Are you saying to correct the speakers prior to running Dirac? Because you can kind of do that.
I think that's what would you recommend if someone wanted to do do their system, calibrate their system? Would you run Dirac first and then do the mini DSP stuff after that? Does that make the most amount of sense, or what would you think, Joe?
Well, I try to do the least amount of processing as possible. Like I wouldn't want to double up, that can cause more issues.
Okay, so what you're saying is to do the mini DSP, and then before you run Dirac, tell them, you don't have a subwoofer? Or you don't
this 88A is not like the 2x4 HD. I'm assuming it's not just for subs. I'm assuming you're using it for main speakers, right? So, I have the 88A, and I've done a lot of like experiments with it as far as doing stuff full range. I guess I'm not sure exactly how you're trying to do this, because I want to give you a good answer, but I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to do. PQ.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like I've replied. I said, use the EQ to fix the speaker, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're two different things. You have speaker, and then you have the room, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have the combination. So fix the speaker itself with some basic EQ, time alignment, DSP, that kind of thing. And then put the speaker in the room, and then fix the room with Dirac.
Yeah, but you know what I think will happen is Dirac will undo what you just fixed.
It better not.
I mean,
because I'm just thinking like, we don't know why he's asking.
Yeah.
So if he's a DIYer and so if I'm doing this, right, I'm going to have the means to build a perfect speaker and a codec to whatever I want it to be, like the crossovers, the DSP, and all that stuff. Then I put it in the room, and then I'll let Dirac fix the room issues. And then if I want to do any kind of tailoring of the sound after that, I can. But that would be the ideal way to go.
Okay, there's the follow-up. He says, yes, he's doing it with the mains after running Dirac. There are certain frequencies that are not as flat as I would like. And so you're trying to say, like, should I flatten it before or after Dirac does his thing? And I think the thing is that
in this case, it probably doesn't matter.
What's that?
I think in this case, it probably doesn't matter.
Whether it's before or after?
Yeah, and I say that solely because he's not trying to perfect the speaker per se, and he doesn't have the means, I'm assuming, to understand, like, he's not taking this thing outside and measuring it like he's trying to build a perfect speaker. Mm-hmm. So I would say just fix it whatever way makes most sense to you, right? And I don't mean that to be passive at all. It's just That's the truth. You can go about it a couple different ways. I would also, though, I would check into trying to understand why Dirac is doing what it's doing, right? Because you have a pre and a post response. So see if you can figure out what's going on and what it's doing to the response that you don't like.
I got an idea. So I like Aaron's idea of perfecting the speaker, make it as perfect as you can, and then run Dirac, but then use the curtain and don't allow it to fix anything above, let's just say, for example, 500 hertz.
Yeah.
Right. That's the way I would probably recommend that you do it, because Dirac is measuring at your main listening position. Right. So it doesn't know what a perfect speaker is. Right. That's something that you can do with your own measurements and your own EQ. But that's why I say Dirac might mess it up, because it's not doing the right measurements. So, yeah. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Derek says,
just confused him even more.
Polk Audio RC80i. I have 4 speakers for you, Aaron.
Yeah, I thought he was talking. I'm replying to him now in chat. I thought he was talking about for me to test, and I was saying that I appreciate it, but I'm not taking anything else in because I'm overwhelmed. But he was saying, I think he was saying I would give them to you for your home theater. So instead of me replying back to him, I'll just go ahead and say this. Yes, I'll take them if you want to send them. I'm just going to put holes in the wall behind me, and I'm going to put them right back there behind me, like floor level, just to annoy these guys.
0 degrees.
No.
0 degrees. 0 degrees. No 30 degrees.
I kid, of course. I do appreciate the offer, but I'm so far out from doing anything. I'm just kind of thinking about stuff in the future that I'd like to do.
You just got to say no.
Yes, that's a good thing.
Have you guys tried Odyssey Multi-X EQ? Multi-QX?
Oh, I'm the Multi-QX master.
Yeah, I was about to say, Joe, do you want to handle this one?
Yeah. I'm trying to get those guys to change up the Multi-QX app, to do stuff that I needed to do. But yeah, I mean, I'm in contact with the guys who make it, so that's kind of cool. And I got a chance to try it out long before they released it. So yeah, I definitely tried it out, and I actually do remote calibrations. There's the plug, Michael. I do remote calibrations for people who don't want to learn how to do it themselves. They just want to, you know what? You do it. Figure it out.
That's right.
So I do offer that, and it's a remote service.
But
if
you don't have to have him in your house for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, it does take a while.
It does.
Keep that in mind. Yeah.
It's funny. I'm always trying to learn how to do some DSP better, and this is kind of combined with what you do, Chana. I heard that Drake supposedly, he cuts out the area where his voice is specifically, just so that his vocals pop
come through. Yeah.
Right. So specifically for his voice, right? It's cut out of that region so nothing fights with it. And
exactly.
I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
And what is interesting about, I know, Calvin Harris, I don't know if you guys know who that guy is. Yeah. So he, with an interview, he's saying that, since he's making mostly dance floor music for nightclubs and stuff like that, he likes female vocals better because male vocals will cross over in that mid bass range where you've now got a male vocal along with your bass and maybe even the high part of the kick, right? And maybe some percussive elements as well. So it's really interesting when you look at sound, when you're creating a song, all pretty much as frequencies. And when you want something to cut through, right, you have maybe your keys, your pianos or whatever in the same, frequency, taking up some of the same frequencies as vocal, then, you're going to go and do subtractive EQ to cut out or carve out a little space. And then, I mean, you could do it manually, which is what I do. But you can, so some people charge for that. They charge for a plugin called Vocal Writer, and it'll no space, something's track spacer. So it'll actually, you put that on the plugin, and then it'll just do it automatically, and it'll kind of clear that area for the vocal, which is probably a little bit more precise than just doing it manually.
So this is, you're gonna laugh at this. In our van, right? When the kids are trying to say something, so I have one that's forward facing, the other one's rear facing, right? And the one that's rear facing is quiet, she's just naturally yeah.
Oh,
and when we're driving, I'm like, what are you saying back there? I can't hear what you're saying. And of course, we're always playing some sort of music, And I was like, hey, what if I use that trick where I cut out the vocals and just, because my DSP has different settings, right? So I'm actually working on that where I have the vocals for the kids and my voice and my wife's voice. And so I can duck them, right? So I can have a mode where it's just like press a button, it ducks that area. And all I'm going to do is, so I actually recorded the voice so I can see the exact area of the frequency range that it takes up. I'm going to take those out. And I've been trying it out, and it's kind of interesting because you're playing the music pretty loud and you can hear them like, oh yeah.
Chana said he did that the same thing with Sasha. Like when she starts nagging on him, he
Oh.
just hits that button and it ducks her voice out in the middle.
Oh, it's the opposite. It cancels out, huh?
I'm just kidding, man.
What the
Anyway, I thought you guys would get a kick about
That's pretty cool,
how
man.
crazy and ridiculous that is that I would do that.
Yeah.
You can't just turn around and say, "Shut up."
Sometimes I want to hear what they're saying. Like, I want
okay.
water.
Like,
good old screaming
roll the
that.
window
Yeah, that
down.
works too. That works too.
Ronzi here said thank you. That was helpful. I don't know if you guys
Cool, man.
saw that. Do you think Sound United will continue the home audio the way they're currently after the sale?
I mean,
if you guys
it's
didn't
also-
know, like
it's all speculation, yeah.
it's what was the name? I forget the name, but they were like medical
bought it
parts.
for one-
It's like
Massimo.
Massimo, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
It sounds like that clothing company.
I know Massimo,
Yeah,
surfing company.
yeah.
It's like $1.3 billion they were sold or bought out.
Bought out,
from-
yeah.
I would
So who
assume
knows?
that they would probably continue on the same. I mean,
They might be just hands off. It might just be
right.
A physical transactional,
Sometimes,
Right.
Sometimes companies will buy a brand and overhaul it, but I would think with something like that, they're probably just going to try to reap the benefits of whatever they're doing.
Right.
Well, what they've already got,
Supposedly-
yeah.
Yeah, supposedly one of the main reasons why they pursued purchasing Sound United is because of their distribution. And so
Right. Because they already have contracts with Best Buy. So this Massimo
Yeah.
company has
So
like
they
some
can
headphones or some nonsense that they want to get into Best
Oh.
Buy.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing.
But I think it's also like almost what was it? Something to do with the watches as well, like the sports.
the smart watches. Yeah.
that
FOMO has a great video.
Yeah,
on
he
his
did
channel,
a nice video on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so take a look
Check
at
out
that.
his.
Anyone offering a course on how to use your ears? That's a good one. How important is it for Aura 3D speakers to be right above the mains? I have pre-wiring for in-ceiling about 2 feet to the sides of my mains, but not right above. I would say, Jay, if you can, don't do in ceilings. Do in walls. So you got that height channel
In
kind of
wall?
situation. Yeah, in walls, up on the walls. Don't
Or
do
on
in
wall.
ceiling, like in wall or on wall or whatever. Yeah.
Are there?
Yeah, because like
speakers that have aimable tweeters. That I don't know.
I mean,
I'm asking a
I think
genuine
some
question.
of them do, but
So I would at least add that caveat. If they are just straight firing, that would be definitely not the best benefit because you're going to have in-wall speakers firing up near your ceiling, but they're firing straight out, and that's very directional. So unless they can angle down at whatever was it 30 degrees, Joe, for Aura?
Yeah, well, it has to be 30 degrees from, if you look at the height of the other speaker and while you're sitting, look up 30 degrees. Right. If you look up 45 degrees, that's there. And then look down a little bit, 30 degrees, that's where the speaker should be.
Right.
But how it's pointed is something else.
Okay.
But yeah, we've talked a lot about Oro. I don't want to burn people out. I made a whole video about it, and I made a setup, how to do the setup, and there's a PDF that goes along with it. I'm not trying to burn people out when it comes to that sort of stuff, to be honest.
Bro,
I'm a little
I
bit
wanna
burned out,
talk
to be
about
honest.
Oro.
I'm a little bit burnt out when it comes to that.
Are we not
Hey,
talk? I was going to get an Oro set up. I had a
Hey, just get it. Just
Forget
get
it.
it, and that's it. It's the best. Boom, done.
Oh my
If you don't like it, then that's cool too.
Do I need to make my check like directly to you and Chana, or like don't y'all
no.
don't y'all?
No. You pay Oro first,
Right,
and then I
y'all
think-
get your money out of that, right?
they just send Chana like stacks of Blu-rays.
they just send me movies.
They don't pay them. They just send them Blu-rays
From
and a
Germany.
sign. They'll send them a sign.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, guys, I got to show you something because
All right.
Uh oh, yeah, this is family friendly channel here.
This is phenomenal. I mean, seriously, this is classic. Boom.
That's it.
So this is from. This is the daily hi-fi bingo card from.
Who made this?
From Croson. He said,
I
guys,
love that guy.
he said, we're almost full tonight. So we've hit all of these almost.
I love this guy.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
This
Dude,
guy is the best.
You rock, man.
Floyd Tool.
That's
All right,
hilarious.
we win. We covered them all.
I gotta download.
Bingo.
That's the greatest, man.
You rock, man. I love our guys, man.
For real though. Hey, before we go, I just want to kind of binaural. Kanga said binaural. Gotta throw that on there.
That's the bonus.
Wow.
Oh man.
Oh.
Hey, you know, a lot of people ask us all the time, like, you know, how big of an amp should I get? Do I need this much power? And I don't know if people really know how much power they really need.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just because it's there and available, I don't know how necessary it all is. And I was able to kind of test that out. I have the A52 Plus. How many watts is that total, Shauna?
A52 Plus? 250 times 4 into 8 ohms.
Okay.
No. Sorry. 180 into 5 into 8 ohms by 5. Yeah, sorry.
And then I have the OSD 5-channel amp, right? So that's kind of what I'm using. Anyway, I have this surge protector from ELAC, right? They just came out with a surge protector. I did some training videos for them, and so I have this. They're pretty expensive. So the surge protector, I don't know if yours does this, Michael. Does it tell you the amps and the watts that it's consuming?
I know it's got something on the front, but I never look at it. I don't know if it's amps or like amperes or watts, but it's got something that shows.
Well, this one allows you to switch, so you can either say how many watts you're consuming, or the voltage, or the amperage, right? And so you can kind of just do the math and figure out the wattage.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to test to see how many watts I was actually using.
Sure.
And so I played some loud movies, loud music, and I made sure to not have the sub connected to that. What is it called? The surge protector. And so it was just those 2 amps, and at levels that I'm uncomfortable listening at.
Right.
I looked at the thing and it only said 400.
400.
That's how much it was consuming, and that's with the overhead of has the lights and all that. There's some inefficiency, so I'm sure I wasn't using all 400. But I think that was interesting to me that I was powering all my speakers, right? Not, of course, like I'm saying, not including the subs, just the main speakers, all cut off at around 80 hertz, and 400 was loud. I don't know. Do you guys find that surprising at all?
Here's do you remember? So I made a video on how much power do speakers need, right? Basically based on, telling speaker sensitivity, right? And so it's supposed to be at 1 watt, 1 meter away. It should be whatever that number is. So in this case, it was a Klipsch RP280F. So it was 98 dB. I'm cranking the volume to get 98 dB 1 meter away. And I'm like, dude, this thing's almost jacked all the way up. Am I at 1 watt right now? And like the volume at 70%? Like does this make sense? Like, isn't that what it's supposed to be? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's hard to tell.
I don't know. Is that number surprising to you, Aaron, at all? That it was reading 400 watts that I was consuming in total, and I was already like, all right, that's loud.
Like, is that what I missed most of that because I was paying attention to the chat.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Basically, I just had my amps, my power amps, and the AVR, all of it connected to a surge protector that tells me how many watts I'm consuming. Right?
I guess that sounds right.
And,
honestly, I don't know. That would also depend on the efficiency of the amplifiers too.
Right. I mean, the speakers also are not efficient, and they're the monolith, encores.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, man, that's crazy. Do people really need the amount of power they think they need? Especially if you have some super efficient speakers. It's like, maybe we don't need all that power.
And that's I've shared that several times on my channel that I haven't heard a lot of difference between amplifiers. Like even adding an amplifier on top of an AVR, for the most part, I don't hear a whole lot of difference, if any. And part of that is probably because most of the speakers I've owned have been in the really high. I mean, we're talking over 100
like
dB.
100 something, yeah.
Yeah, and granted, whether or not clips are accurate on that doesn't matter. They're still way more efficient, I promise you, than a lot of speakers I've reviewed, like the Polk Audios, which are in the lower 90s or maybe even the 80s. So
or ELAC with their 85.
yeah, I mean, you gotta feed them a lot of power to get them at the same volume. There's no doubt there. So adding an amplifier to a really efficient speaker I haven't experienced a whole lot of difference.
And now also like how far you're seated away
how big
also plays
is.
right. So if you're shorter distance, efficient speakers, chances are you probably won't notice anything an external amplifier is going to do. But if you do have something that's 88 dB sensitive and you sit 14 feet away 14 feet away like I do.
I'm just saying that maybe people are kind of maybe they don't understand how little power they actually need, as long as it's clean power.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with TVs and nits for this HDR. Oh, it has to be 1,000 nits. I don't know. My 700 or 800 nit OLED, when I'm watching TV at night, bright as shit. Like I don't want it to get any brighter than that. Like we don't need it to get any brighter than that. So it's one of those things. Like it's a good like stat. Oh, I got 250 watts per channel by 52 channels. Like who cares?
But you know what? I still want those power amps though. I still like looking at them, and they're heavy, and I just feel like
I can't even see mine.
That's it.
I can't even see mine. I just know they're there back there working.
I'm only using 400 watts, but I still like to know it's there. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a weird thing, I guess. But you know what? Here's what does need power: your subs.
Yes.
And if you've ever been in a car audio, there's always the guy who like wanted to cheap out on the amp and like buy some like weird no-name one that says it's like, a couple thousand, and you're like, dude, I'll tell you, I promise you, that's not what that's doing. And you could just, play the same speakers and it distorts way earlier, right, than it should because it's not getting real power. So subs are a place where you need real power. That's where you need to put it. I wouldn't worry so much about speakers that are cut off at 80 hertz. I don't know.
Think about these really, really high end amplifiers that are, they have the first few watts, and usually they're like the first 5 or 10 watts are class A. And then when it gets above that, then that switches over
to AB.
That might actually tell us some truth there.
Oh, so Joe,
we might be in that just,
your Parasound does that, Joe.
Watts.
Oh, yeah.
Parasound does that. Yeah.
What do they call it? High bias.
Yeah.
Class A. I would like to do an experiment one time. Maybe Aaron could do something where, where are most tweeters crossed over, like 2 or 3 kilohertz?
Yeah. That's
around there.
And then just like play a test tone that's 2 or 3 kilohertz or above and see how much wattage it takes to like hurt somebody's ears.
Yeah, a true test tone, it wouldn't take much.
I bet it would be like a hilariously low amount of energy.
You'd have to find like a test tone, if it's like at 0 dB, then it wouldn't take much. But you got to consider too that music is going to have and Shauna knows, like it's going to have, I guess like more headroom, right? So probably like -6 dB to -20 dB or something for most music. Would you say, Shauna?
-6 to -12. That's kind of like the range.
Yeah.
How much?
It all depends,
2
right,
watts.
Yeah, like hip hop is going to be like -3 to 0, right?
Well, what do you call it? In that show, Joe, which I know you haven't watched, the Wu-Tang, An American Saga or whatever. He was in the studio and there was an engineer there, and the guy playing RZA, he's like, I want all of these up, and he's like, oh, it's going to distort. He's like, exactly, that's the sound I want. So again, it depends, but usually -6 to -12 is like a guideline, but then when you're making your own style, sound,
right,
vibe, whatever, it can be different.
Aaron, why are you yawning, man?
I know you're getting everybody. People are saying I'm yawning.
Oh man, I'm just tired. I'm getting old.
I'm running on fumes myself, man.
By the way, for those who don't know, we have an audio-only version of this podcast at anchor.fm/daily HiFi, and you can use Apple Music, whatever you use for your podcast. So check it out. And we actually have a lot of people listening on that.
Yeah. So let me think here. We got Floyd Tool, Atmos, wide versus narrow directivity.
Shauna's dropped a cuss word.
Yep.
That
Check.
wasn't on there.
Oh, is this on the bingo
3D.
card?
It should
Yeah,
be.
I'm doing the bingo card. I'm trying to go off of memory here. Croson, because he wants us to mention his name, so he needs to put his cell phone.
Yeah,
because we always say Croson.
JTR. Throwing JTR. Yeah. Clipple. Throw in Clipple.
Clipple. Yeah. Oh, Magic Beans. Artist Intent. Has that one been used in a while? I don't feel like that one's been used in a while.
That's
I
what
need
he's
to-
saying. We were close tonight.
I think that could take a.
We're the only two.
I need to make my artisan.
I think that one could be thrown out and replaced with Croson or something.
It's funny.
Something else.
Good
Something
stuff.
else.
Yeah.
Hey, Snoots was asking if I answered the question. I did, Snoots. I'm waiting for B&H Photo to get some in stock, and once that happens, they're going to send me one. So yeah. Although, interestingly enough, somebody from Samsung's PR company hit me up, asked me if I needed any new TVs for reviews to let them know, and I was like, yeah, send me the QD OLED 55-inch, please, thank you. They're like, okay, once we get some stock. So I was like, oh, okay.
Well,
like, I don't even know who this is. This is real. Is this a real person? They're actually gonna send a TV. Anyway, looks like we've gone over by half an hour, so we will probably move this party to the after party. And that if you guys want to come join the after party, go to patreon.com/daily HiFi, become a patron, get access to the video chat that is happening right after we finish this show. And we do this show every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you made it all the way through on the live replay, make sure you subscribe up and hit the bell for notifications so you know when we go live, although, it's 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Oh, did you hear? We might be getting rid of that whole daylight savings time, so now we can just say,
I did.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
4 p.m. Pacific.
Nice.
Yes.
Wait. How do you know it's going to be 4 p.m. Pacific? Why wouldn't it be 7 p.m. Eastern?
No. I mean, no, that's the same. No, I don't have to say.
But who's more
Because there's
right?
there's PST Pacific Standard Time, and then PDT Pacific Daylight Time. Like, we don't have to get into that nonsense anymore.
Okay.
We're going to say Eastern.
We're still in the Eastern.
We're still,
We're going to
still
say
gonna say
Central.
that.
Okay,
We're gonna say Central. We'll throw everybody
Central.
off.
So I'm
Show
Central.
up,
We're just going to
show up at 5 p.m.
How's that going to
all that
work?
matters.
Show
You start
up at
using
5:30.
GMT minus
GMT. Zulu.
GMT, yeah.
Zulu, Tom.
I love it.
Military guys will know what I mean.
So yeah, thank you guys, everyone, for hanging out with us on the Daily HiFi podcast. And if you are not a patron, and we won't see you in the after show, we will see you next week. All right.
Yeah.
On behalf of myself, Michael, Aaron, and Joe, see you guys next time.
Aaron's
See ya.
taking a nap.